Good evening, everyone. Hopefully, you're having a wonderful Sunday evening. I've got a good one for you today. Looks like Jagmeet Singh's back in action and going around talking about corporate greed. Today, he was in Toronto riding, so seems like he's right in front of a Loblaws, and things are about to get fun. So, with no further ado, let's get into it.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Norm DePasquale, and I am the NDP candidate for Spadina 4 York.
I just want to point this out that they didn't have the speakers up to date and they didn't have their system ready for this interview. Does the NDP not have people who know their audio and they don't know how to create videos? Something like that? Because you'd think with the amount of money the NDP has, they'd have all of this set up and ready to go right away. I just think it's funny.
Today, we're talking about the corporate greed that is driving up grocery prices and how liberals and conservatives allowed it to happen. We're standing here today with the Loblaws behind us, where many Torontonians go to buy their food. You walk in with the grocery list and look at the till and look at your receipt and ask yourself, how is this possible? How is this so expensive? As a result, 1 in 5 Canadians are skipping their meals because they can't afford sky-high grocery prices. People here in Toronto and across Canada are tired and frustrated at paying unfair prices for basic food, while big grocery CEOs are racking in record profits. This must change. That's why New Democrats are fighting to change the rules, to end the greed, cut grocery prices, and stop CEOs from ripping you off. You deserve a party with a leader that has the backbone to fight and to stand up for corporate greed. I'm happy to introduce you to the leader of the NDP who is fighting for you, not CEOs, Jagmeet Singh.
Oh, I thought he was talking about the Conservatives for a second. I thought he was going to introduce Pierre Poilievre because Jagmeet Singh has been voting with as he called it, the failed Liberal Trudeau government for the past 2 years, ever since they became a minority government. So I don't really think they've been fighting for the people. Do you?
Thanks so much, Norm. Appreciate you. We're so lucky to have Norm DePasquale as our candidate here in this riding. Norm, you're an awesome voice for the people. So as Norm said, we just an example of how high those grocery prices are. We just went to shop here at the Loblaws. I'm going to show you what we bought. We bought 2 items. A bag of onions for $8. This bag here. Nothing special, just red onions. $8. That's almost over $1 per onion. The next item we bought was formula, baby formula, something that's very essential. On sale, this is over $50. 2 items, $60. Essentials for families. The reality is, you know this, when you go into a grocery store and you're paying more than ever before and getting less than ever before, you know on the other side of that, you're getting ripped off. You're getting ripped off because the rules have been written by Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre, by Liberals and Conservatives, to allow rich CEOs to rip off Canadians. And I know you feel that. You're right. This is not your fault. You're working harder than ever before, but you feel like you're falling behind more than ever before. And it's because the deck is stacked against you. The scales are against you. You've got all the power in the hands of corporations and CEOs that can rip you off, and families are feeling the price. They're feeling the squeeze. We want to change that. We want to change the rules to put people first. One example of how the rules are stacked against you, how the scale is so shifted against you, is behind me. We were at Loblaws when we went shopping, one of the largest corporate grocery stores in Canada. We just found out that there was a lawsuit, a class action, where a settlement of $500 million was made in the bread price fixing scandal. But what does that actually mean? Well, first of all, large corporate grocery stores like Loblaws and big bread producers like Canada Bread colluded, worked together to jack up the price of bread, ripping off Canadians. They were allowed to do that because it was not against the law at the time. The laws allowed that to happen for so long. They weren't investigated, they weren't stopped, so they were allowed to rip off Canadians. You want to know how much Canadians were ripped off? To the tune of $5 billion. The rules written by Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre and their parties allowed the penalty for doing that. The biggest penalty that was levied was for Canada Bread Company was $50 million. That's like if someone steals $50 from you and you only get back 5 cents. That is ridiculous. And it is ridiculous that citizens had to fight in court to get justice. That is not the way things should work. The rules should be there to protect Canadians. But the rules written by Liberals and Conservatives, by Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre, have allowed big corporations to rip you off. And there is no real penalties. We want to change that. We want...
The reason why it is this or that way, Jagmeet Singh, the reason why us little people have to go to the courts and sue these big companies is because we have to prove that these companies are guilty. It's the way the law works. And if you change this for big companies, you'll have to change this for small companies too. So if there's an accusation of, say, a small business colluding with another business and it's not true, like, how are you going to do that? Or are they going to automatically have to pay a fine as well without the burden of proof on the person who's accusing, the accuser, I guess? I know it's not like the fairest system that the people who don't have a lot of money have to go to court, but it's the best system that we have. Now, he does bring up a pretty good point is they make more money off the colluding than they pay out due to a fine. Now that's screwed up. And Jagmeet's gonna say pretty soon about like how he's bringing in a law that they have to pay out like $1 billion or something like that. I say no to that. I say you have to pay out the exact amount of money and a little bit more than what you made on the collusion. But that's not how our system works. So that's what has to change. Not like some going crazy with some random number like the NDP is doing right now. And I just want to touch the point on how he brings out a couple of items that he bought recently. So onions, it's the cost of farming now. I don't think with all, like, how do I put this? With all of the carbon tax and all of the extra green taxes that the Trudeau federal government has put on the farmers and put on the truckers, what did you think would happen to the price of onions? Did you think they would just stay the same with the sheer amount of inflation that's been going on in the upcoming or in the past year? What did you think would happen to onions? Would they just stay the same cost? No, of course they're going to go up to crazy amounts. And the baby formula, sure, it was on sale, but they didn't show us what brand he was choosing. He didn't show us, he didn't tell us what brand. It did not look like Compliments. And trust me, I have my beef with Compliments brand stuff. It's almost the exact same as name brand, but it looked like it was a named brand baby formula. And of course, name brand formulas are going to be massively high. Like, that's just normal. That's why you go for no name or, like I said, Compliments. But anyways, let's continue.
Severe sanctions, severe penalties. If a corporation rips you off and they make a benefit, like in this case of $5 billion, then we should be able to impose triple the benefit that they made as a penalty. $15 billion of fines would really deter these companies from ripping you off. That's what we're talking about. We want to...
Okay, yeah, see? That's way too excessive for any law to be put in. Because that would bankrupt a company. So as a fine, that would bankrupt Loblaws. Sure, it's supposed to deter them from happening, but this stuff always happens. It always will happen. We have to be realistic about this. These things happen. So unfortunately, we can't bankrupt a company for that. What they should have been fined is, say, $6 billion, $7 billion. That would make more sense than triple what they made.
We want to change the rules so that we impose a price cap on food essentials. These companies are making record profits. They should not be able to rip off Canadians. So what we're saying is, Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre, you both have failed. When Pierre Poilievre was in power, when Conservatives in power, that's when the bread price fixing scandal was happening. And Justin Trudeau has seen it through and hasn't done anything to increase the penalties for these corporations that when they rip you off. So we're saying we need to have severe penalties. We need a price cap on food essentials. We need to make sure people can afford their groceries.
Is that possible to happen?
Now, Justin Trudeau had the opportunity. He could have done it. We had to force them. We had to force them to bring in changes to make price gouging illegal. It wasn't against the law until we forced them to change it. That's an example of how we can change the rules. But let's be clear about Pierre Poilievre. He wants to throw fuel on the fire of corporate greed. He wants to let these corporations rip you off even more. And we know why. The corporate or the Conservative Party's director for the Conservative Party of Canada is a lobbyist for the largest corporation in groceries, Loblaws. So they're not going to take on their corporate buddies. They're not going to stop them from ripping you off, but we are. We have a plan. We want to take on corporate greed and lower the cost of your groceries.
So I just want to remind everybody that Jagmeet Singh's own brother works as an actual lobbyist for Metro, competitor to Loblaws. So he's literally a hypocrite when he talks about the Conservative Party's MP who used to work as tobacco and liquor lobbyist for Loblaws. So nothing to do with groceries. I'll just reiterate that again. So I got some notes from what he was saying here. So his price cap on food, that's never going to work because you put a price cap on food, but inflation and taxes go higher on people further down the line. Okay, where's that money going to come from? The NDP is going to go, oh, it's going to come from the government, or it's going to come from corporations. No, those corporations will find other places to squeeze you. Like these grocers already make more on their pharmaceuticals than they do on their groceries because they're already doing that because of the taxes and everything else the government's implementing on the farmers and the distribution. But of course, well, that's probably a little bit why that baby formula is so much. Plus, we don't make baby formula in Canada anymore. It all comes from overseas. And I don't get why he keeps saying like this is all Pierre Poilievre's fault. Like the prices of groceries, the prices of bread, it's all Trudeau's and Pierre Poilievre's fault. Pierre Poilievre wasn't what minister would Minister of Industry or something wasn't in control of our groceries when Conservatives were in power in 2008. So I don't know what he's talking about that. He was first housing minister, which has nothing to do with groceries, and then he was shadow finance minister, which has nothing to do with groceries. So I will give you a failure there, Jagmeet. And I think that's going to be it for today. I did a whole video of the whole thing, and it was about 50 minutes long, so I think I might just cut her short as a part 1 and then do a part 2 tomorrow that has all the questions included into it. So I think that might be the best way to go. If you do want to see the full video tomorrow and not have to go through part 1 and part 2, and If you like to see videos that are unfiltered, you can go to my locals at Imperfect Politics at locals.com. So that would be awesome. Also, and if you like the videos, please subscribe. It really helps with the channel, and I'm trying to get up to 200 subscribers by end of next month. And always, comments are welcome, and let me know what you think about the NDP. Other than that, that's all I got for you today, and good night.